This is the magicwordpodcast.com.
Well, we're on our beginning of the second day. We had a delightful yesterday. We're going to recap that pretty soon, but I want to catch Mark Mason before he heads out. You know, he's one of the busiest guys, of course, you've ever seen. And so if you get a chance just to chat with him when there's not a huge crowd surrounding him, then I grab it. So I'm interrupting his breakfast right now. Hey, Mark Mason, how you doing?
Man, you can't even have a bagel in peace around here. How you doing, Scott, baby?
Fantastic. Now, you haven't come here frequently. This is, when's the last time you were at the Magifest? Do you remember?
No. This is a frequent one for me. I come every year.
Oh, it is this one? Okay.
I do Magifest always. I always do Blackpool and I always do live.
Uh-huh.
Other than that, I pick and choose. I'm not doing as many these days.
You've cut back a lot.
Yeah, I cut back a lot. I'm an old guy now. That 57, 58 or something I am. I'm getting old now.
Yeah. And so you're going to be, going to Blackpool then, and you have, I know, moved from Florida a long time ago, and you're in France or Spain?
No, I live in Spain. I've been living in Spain 2.5 years.
Mm-hmm. And Tasha's doing fine?
She's good. I just spoke to her just now. She's having a little glass of red wine there on the balcony, living the dream.
Yeah. And while you're having some coffee, because obviously the time differential, not that she's an alcoholic, but just so everybody knows they're listening.
She might be an alcoholic as well, but she's definitely having a glass of wine. She just told me with lunch.
What is the newest and best thing that's a hot seller you got right now?
Oh, I got something really cool called On Second Thoughts, which went brilliant yesterday. And I've got something else called Quartet. I've got 4 new tricks, but those 2 were hot last night.
And have you still got some left, or did you sell out last
night?
Yeah,
no, I've still got some left. I'm getting clever. I try and bring a bit extra, selling out on the first
day. After all this time, you finally figured it out.
Well, selling out on the first day sounds good, but you kick yourself and go, I wish I would have brought a few more, right? And I shipped to Patrick's mats. I hope everybody likes Patrick, and I think he's a brilliant guy. I love his mats, but he always helps me when I'm in this area.
Yeah, that's true. And I know that... you again got a lot of stuff that you make then yourselves, but also one of the fellows who used to live next to you, just 15 minutes away from you in Florida. It's kind of hard to be away from your mate. What's his name again?
Mr. Bob Swaddling.
Bob Swaddling.
Yeah, the one and only, the genius himself. If you open the dictionary and look for Bob Swaddling, I'm sure it says genius in there somewhere.
And you don't see him very often.
Well, I live abroad, but I whenever I'm in Florida, I call in, we have lunch, and we Skype, we still chit-chat.
Does he Skype you and give you new ideas, or saying, hey, how about work on this or this?
We still chit-chat and stuff. He's moved his workshop. It's still in Florida, but he's moved his workshop now. But he's super nice guy. Him and Val, have always been good to me. So I wish them all the best. And I think he's going to a convention in Florida soon, somewhere. I'm sure he is.
They seem to have a lot of conventions in Florida.
Yeah, they certainly do.
I mean, whether it's a balloon festival or a Daytona Beach or the Florida State or whatever like that. Are you going to 4F this year, by the way?
I haven't got a ticket yet, but I was guest of honor last year.
That's why I thought you might come back this year.
So I might. Let's see how it all works out.
Actually,
I'm trying
you're
to figure it out.
For like 4 years.
Yeah, I'm the 4-year guest. I'm going to go and open the booth. They're screaming at you to go get your sandwich.
Yes, and also you need to
always a pleasure speaking to Mr. Scott Wells and all his followers out there. Look after yourself, Scott, and I'll see you soon.
Okay. For the Magic Word Podcast, that was Mark Mason, Scotty out. Well, we just talked with a dealer a moment ago, and that was, of course, well-known Mark Mason. I got another well-known dealer who's here right now, and so it's great to try to kind of talk with people who are outside the dealer's room, so I'm not bothering him too much, although I'm bothering him during breakfast right now. So here he is, with Card Shark, Christian Schenk. Hey, Christian.
Good morning, everybody. Hello.
Guten Morgen, I guess.
Good. I'm so international. Buenos dias to todos. Yes.
Did you come over just for this convention, or have you got some other things you're going to be doing here? Are you going to be in the States for a while? Or?
I will then, after this one here, I will leave on Sunday going to my warehouse in California, because I still have things to do and instruct my guy there to use ShipStation and everything so that we are up and running, because all U.S. orders are shipped out from the USA from California.
And as I recall, that's kind of in that same complex where Vanishing Ink and Murphy's Magic and everybody know you're not there in Sacramento?
Well, most of them are all in Rancho Cordova, but Rancho Cordova is big enough. Mm-hmm. And I was using Murphy's service for fulfillment for 2 years or so after Roger Nico left America, and Donnie Buckley did not, he did it for several times. And then Murphy's offered me to do the fulfillment. And they stopped doing fulfillments last year, so I had to find another solution. and Steve Brennan. He's now helping me, shipping out all the orders every day. And we found a storage space. We had to move everything over there. And we did this all in California sun, no fan, no air condition, nothing. I was wearing underwear when counting all my stuff and all this in the warehouse. No photos, please. It was an interesting time, let's say it this way. Yeah.
As I recall also, you had suffered a tragic fire and lost a lot. Was that in the U.S. or was that in Germany?
No, that was, God's sake, that was in Germany. That was in 2017, and the American stock helped me a lot to recover, because I certainly had to reprint a lot of products. And so I stopped selling to dealers for a while because I wanted to be able to sell still to my retail customers. And therefore, I split the inventory that I still had in America in half, took half back to Germany, and in that time, while we were reprinting all the products, I was able to keep up the business and survived. That was good, yeah.
I had just learned yesterday, Charlie Randall had told me this, we were talking about stripper deck. I believe someone was using this recently, and they were saying that actually just one side of a deck, when it's done properly, is cut rather than both sides for a stripper. And oftentimes, if you look closely, you can see that the white border is a little bit smaller on one side than the other. But they said, well, you ought to see the cards the Card Shark makes, because Christian takes that into account and moves over the pattern a little bit, so that way you have equal white border around, regardless of one side just being shaped a little.
That is 100%. And also, I added a one-way design to my Phoenix decks when I started. So you would have already a visual clue how to turn around the card. So if someone is fooling around with you, and twist the cards or whatsoever, you can see the card. You would see before you put it inside if it's turned around or not. Mm-hmm. So you would never lose the chosen card inside a stripper deck. And you also know exactly, because of the one-way design, if the strip would be going backwards towards your body or away, because you are holding the deck in the right position. Automatically, yeah.
I know you're also coming up with a lot of different ideas and new things all the time, and you've probably got some people who consult with you or give you some ideas and things. But what's the newest that you got for sale here this year?
Well, we have something very interesting that's called Gems from the Desert of Paul Stone. It's not really new in that way, but it's 5 super commercial tricks, very easy to do, amazingly simple, simply amazing. And we have other things coming up for Blackpool. Certainly also Rex Ignis is well known, I would say, with the candle trick.
I was just talking to Mark Deach yesterday, and he was saying about Rex Ignis, talking about that being a great trick. He was on Penn & Teller Fool Us, I think.
He was, and he fooled Penn & Teller with this. I doubt it, because I showed it to Teller earlier.
Oh. You screwed him.
No, it's all good. So once you understand that Fool Us is about a good show and a good performance of magic, and not about fooling them, then you would also understand that the Penn's daughter, who fooled them with a trick of mine that's called Triple Coincidence.
I remember that. Yeah.
It was not. Was she really fooling them?
Yeah.
Right. It's just a nice performance, and that's more important. But let me, while you're here, and ask me some questions. Can I say something very interesting?
Absolutely. Yeah.
We are 1 year away from the next FISM convention. The FISM is the World Championship of Magic
in Turin,
and it will happen there. And there's a very interesting change there that will happen very, very soon, because the last FISMs, I was not really happy with the outcome.
In Quebec.
Quebec was terrible, I have to say.
I have to agree.
And
a lot of people who, for the North America, who had never been to a FISM, that was their first one, and it's too bad they saw that as their first. I mean, the dealer room was pathetic, I thought.
And it was not the first one that was that bad. I now did 4 FISMs. I did the first one in Blackpool. And even if Blackpool usually is a very good convention happening in February, it was a terrible one for FISM. Then I did not go to Beijing. That was 2009, because I thought I don't want to have my products half the price being copied in China.
Yep.
I went to Italy. That was an amazing one. That was in 2015.
Rimini, that was great.
That was Rimini. That was really a good one, and it's the same organizer doing it this time again. It's Walter Rolfo, so I'm really trusting in him. Then I was in Korea, in Seoul, in 2018. That was also not a good dealer room. I was the only Western dealer there of all the dealers available. And we have so many good dealers there. But I want to call them not dealers anymore, because let's say Daytona Magic is a dealer, while Penguin Magic or Theory 11 or Card Shark or Vanishing Ink, they're all creators and producers of effects, so they know what they're doing there, and you can really get your hands on and talk with them about secrets. What you can never do with the dealer, because he just buys stuff and resells it.
Right.
Yeah. So it's totally different.
It's a good differentiation. Yeah.
Yeah. So when everybody's talking about the dealer room, I always cringe a little bit inside because it's not.
What should it be called?
A creator's den, something like this. And so I was, after Quebec, I said to myself, okay, that's my last one as a dealer. I will never do it again. I will go to a next FISM as a guest just to see the competition and everything, because that's beautiful and I highly recommend it to everybody. And then the last day I had the idea, okay, at least I could do it one more time as a dealer chairman. So I offered my service to Walter Rolfo and told him, you have to change a lot to make it a really good one. Otherwise, you will screw it up again, like all the others did. And so I'm offering my service as a dealer chairman. Think about it. And we already had a long talk in Quebec then. And he reached out to me in December last year. And I went to Turin this January already to see the venue and all this, to see what would be possible, to see what he wants to have, etc. And actually, I was able to talk them out of this building. It was Yes, it wasn't a good one. It was a huge, the old Fiat manufactory of the Fiat cars, right? And
it's a big empty hall.
It's 3 empty halls actually. It's 2 big halls without columns, and the middle one has a lot of columns inside. And the one big column should have been the theater for 3,000 people. And alone the carpet floor would have been $60,000 just to put carpet inside, because that's how big it is. And the other big hall would have been for close-up, the dealers and lectures, etc. And you would never ever be able to make it quiet enough so that there would be separate rooms and not disturb the performers, etc. when the dealers are still doing something. So I talked him out of this, and he wanted to have the biggest dealer room in the world with 200 dealers. Imagine that, 200 dealers. Through how much shite you would have to walk through just to see a gem of good magic. So I talked him out of this, and I said, narrow it down to 50 really good ones. He convinced me, okay, 70, 75 or so would be a better number that would work for him. I could agree on this one. Now, he changed the venue because of this lower number, then because there's a kind of an inside stadium like an ice rink, where you can put in concerts and so on and so on. So you have all the elevated seating all around, like in a big stadium, and you can divide it 70-30%, so that the bigger part would be for the stage magic, and the smaller part would then be for the close-up magic. So really interesting idea as a venue in the center of Turin, really nice, and the dealers would be outside there, directly there. So I think the whole concept would work much, much, much better.
And so they have signed a contract, and that's where they're going to have it then now? Or they're still considering?
Well, they're working on this right now, because I think it would be the best solution right now in Turin. The other one would not work. They had a third option, but I think the theater would be too small. A wonderful, wonderful theater, but it would only get 1,400 people or so.
Not enough.
That's not enough. It should really be a bigger one. So I think it will be this stadium. I cannot promise it anyway, but I made also an agreement so that the dealers would be treated completely different this time. Well, let's stop calling it dealers. Let's say the producers or creators.
Yeah.
And so I will handpick them. So I will invite them to come. And it's not that everybody can just apply. I would check them first, what kind of products they have, so that they are not rip-offs, and that it will be a very interesting time for the people to get there and see the coolest magic in the world right in front of their eyes.
And so not a free-for-all where everyone is invited to come in and have as many dealers as possible. I agree that you're going to be able to limit that. I kind of like the idea of having 52 dealers, like 52 cards.
That's an interesting approach, but try to hit exactly that number. Okay, I will do my very best. Maybe we'll have some more jokers in the deck.
So that, could be. Maybe have a contest. Who are the jokers in the dealer's room? Today or something. We shuffle up the deck or whatever. Welcome to our card room instead of the dealer's room.
Yeah, and here's a very interesting thing, and you might be participating with this as well. I'm looking out for some influencers, bigger ones like Chris Ramsey, etc., and also then the dealers who apply and will come, that they will be able to promote the FISM convention to their customers, meaning that they will get a promotion code. And with this promotion code, depending on if you're inside Europe or outside Europe, because I know that the cost to get there is way higher from, let's say, America or Australia, etc., that these guys from outside of Europe would get a 10% discount when they are using this code when they sign up for the FISM. And it's not only them. It would be a win-win for everybody, so that they would promote it. I think it will be an awesome event. I can only highly recommend to go finally to one FISM, being part of. You have been there, right?
I've been to several FISMs since back in '88. I mean, I've gone to lots.
And it's so different to a normal convention, right? Because the competition is so strong. They even think about reducing the number of galas, because the galas that they usually have, they bring older magicians in, paying them a lot of money for performing something that we have seen hundreds of times. And why not having the best magicians of that time right now for the gala? Meaning we would start the competition way later than normal in the day, and being able to also have them performing and competing in the evening, and seeing the best magicians that are existing right now right in front of our eyes, instead of a gala of people that we have seen hundreds of times.
Well, that's a good way of looking at it. Certainly, I know the reason they bring in some of the older acts is because of the classic ones, it's kind of like, if you're going to be having a band, I don't know, the Rolling Stones, you want to hear some of their old tunes, not just their new ones, but you go to hear some of the old songs. And same thing that you go to a magic convention and say, well, I hope I get to see so-and-so, to do his, like Jeff McBride do something, his mask act or whatever it is.
And now do the math, because he calculated everything for me. So when you do this, and you would have, you would do one show, let's say the big stars of magic, imagine how much that costs to a convention like a FISM. And I have to say, unfortunately, magicians are cheap. They want to get to a convention for a couple of $100 maybe only. And if you go to any
corporate event,
you pay thousands, etc., to get there. And you have to live with that budget to organize everything.
As long as this continues to be a hobby rather than a profession, or looked at that way, then people are saying, well, how much do I have as discretionary income in order to pay for my hobby to attend these conventions or buy these tricks? Because 90% or more are not really even part-time professionals as far as making money on it. Or if they do, it's not part of their major income.
I am 100% with you, and I'm still struggling with this because most conventions who are organizing it are still doing a big mistake. For instance, sorry to say that, but I told the SAM TOM that is happening this year that I will not be able to get there, because I would at least have an overhead of $2,000 just to be there, because the hotel room is ridiculously expensive, almost $1,000 to be there. And
this is more. It's like 4 nights, I believe, or 5 nights.
Yes. But what do you have for that? You pay just you. That's $900 you cannot spend for your magic, and you have to do the calculation. So you pay maybe a couple of $100 for the registration to be there. Now I'm talking about being a magician to see the convention there. The food will not be that super cheap. Everything is getting more expensive. Then you have the expensive hotel. So you are at least with flight, etc.
Well, it's the same with any convention. I mean, you can't just nail that onto the TOM.
Do you have to go to all these expensive hotels? You're a guy with 4F as well. The hotels can be way cheaper. It could be done in a time where the hotel rates are not that high.
Yeah, but you want to also see magic as it can best be presented whenever that a performer. I mentioned Jeff McBride. I mean, he's not going to be working in a hotel lobby. He's got to have lights.
But there are other venues out there. I still remember in very good memory the Magic in the Rockies, for instance, where they did an awesome job, right? And the hotel was affordable. Everything was well organized. And you still had a wonderful theater in the evening, and you had the close-up sessions and everything. It was a wonderful experience, seriously. And I think that the other conventions who are always striving for bigger and more expensive hotels, etc., because everything is in there, it's so expensive to be at a convention that how do you really get younger people in when you already have to pay at least $1,500 to go to a convention?
Yeah, I know there's some conventions like this one, the Magifest here, has scholarships, or they have some. I was just talking with someone who's got the Wonder Bash coming up in Grand Rapids later this year, and they were saying about how that they're going to have some scholarships available so that if you can't afford it and you're a youth below a certain age, that you can apply for and probably get free registration, But before we go any further, I did want to say I think that's a great idea of having you to come in. Whenever I was president of the TAOM, and I've also been involved when they ask for my suggestions at conventions, I always will say, and whenever I was president, I had working for me someone who was a dealer, so that way it's like who would be the dealer chairman. In fact, I had Charlie Randall with H&R Magic Books at the time to be the dealer because he's been on that side of it. It's like, how would you like to be treated rather than someone who's on the outside seeing it from a different perspective? And you have an excellent perspective, obviously, and so I think that you know what dealers want, what they need, and as far as what the hours are going to be and all that kind of a thing. So I think it's good that they're going to actually look to someone with experience to handle that area as well.
Yeah, well, I have been to all continents. Besides of Africa, I've been to all continents to magic conventions. Doesn't matter if it was Japan, even Indonesia and South America and Mexico and everywhere.
Yeah.
So I know how the conventions are held, and unfortunately most of the conventions are still having this idea in their mind that a dealer is making a lot of money being at a convention, while they are not competing now with a brick and mortar shop anymore. They are competing against the internet. Everything is online, right? So where on earth can you as a magician see magic live being performed in front of you that you can then purchase?
Yeah.
It's either lectures, so you see a lecturer and he sells stuff, or brick and mortar shops are not affordable anymore because they are too expensive. So it's online shops, and you see some videos that are edited and you don't know how to get in, how to get out, if this is just good for a 5-second TikTok video or whatsoever, or a really good performance that is well thought of. So you are you have to go to a convention to see the magic live there and speak with Mark Mason or me or whatever how this trick is done. I'm open with the secrets there at the convention. I'm showing them exactly what the gimmick is looking like, etc. Does it work for them? Does it involve sleight of hand? Is it easy to perform, and so on and so on?
Yeah.
All this is important to make a qualified purchase.
I would agree.
Right.
I don't want to take it any longer because I know that we're going to be starting Dealer's Room pretty soon, and I've interrupted your breakfast over here, and I don't want to get more cold. And we could talk for a long time. We probably ought to sit down and do a full episode sometime if I can never pull you away for an hour.
Maybe you'll find some more time when we see us at 4F, maybe.
That's a good idea, actually, a good idea. And I'll see you in April then.
That would be in April.
For the Magic Word Podcast. That was Christian Schenk with Card Shark. Scotty out. Well, we just finished having breakfast. Now we're over getting ready for the Arthur Benjamin lecture in literally a couple of minutes over here. But before we get started, run into a good friend and friend of the Magic Word then as well, Nancy Anderson from Chicago. Hey there, Nancy.
Hey, how are you,
Fancy
Scott?
Nancy.
Fancy Nancy, that's right, from Chicago. Yeah, this is such a wonderful place to see friends.
It is great. There are a lot of great friends who are here and a lot of great magic so far. We've
Great
just gotten started.
magic, yes.
Yeah.
And I just want to congratulate you for the good work you're doing. I learned so much from your podcast. Most recently, you had Rolando Santos, who did just a fantastic job talking about engaging people, how to perform in a way that is emotional. And I was sitting down in my desk taking notes of all of these 7 emotions that you should be following when you're engaging a client. But more importantly, every time I listen to your podcast, I walk away feeling like I just went to a University of Magic class. Because you have people like Jamie
and Swiss.
Yep, who had a wonderful amount of information for me talking about the history of some of the performance and performers and books. And if you can see my notebook, it's all filled with information that is so valuable to me. So thank you, Scott. You deserve to have the award for the best podcast in magic.
Well, thank you very much, Nancy. By the way, speaking of a notebook, I think that's important that you do take notes.
You do.
And so
Yep.
tell other people why that they should take notes.
Absolutely, because magic is so fluid in reality.
And ephemeral. It's something hard to hold on to.
Yes, and sometimes life is so busy that it's best for you to have a reference book where you write down, here in this conference, I already will walk away probably with 10 pages of notes. So, yeah, keep on journeying.
Yeah.
So thank you, Scott.
Yeah, it's important. So everybody be listening to what you just was saying right there, and as you're listening to things, it's like when you're doing a magic show. A lot of times you forget about a line that was said or something that was done. You think, I'm going to remember that and do that. The next day you forget about it completely. And the same thing I think like a lot of times when you're in school, that if you don't jot it down, and then they have a test, it's like, I should have jotted that down, But there will always be a test. If you ever perform, that is your test.
Exactly.
And so you need to be ready for those tests by having this journal that you've been keeping.
I'm going to make the Fancy Nancy Journal of Magic book.
I love it. I love it. Nancy, thanks very much. It's getting ready for the show then right now. Talk to you later. So the Magic Word Podcast. That was Nancy Anderson. Scotty out. We've just seen a couple of really good lectures here today. We this morning, since we've left breakfast and got the day started already with some things, we began with Arthur Benjamin, who was giving not only a demonstration of mathematical skills, but then also a lecture about how to do this, and then followed by Blaise Sarah, who basically was a demonstration. I mean, although he was teaching this, it was just crazy skills that only he does. It's like, here's how I do it. Okay, you've got a challenge out there. But I've got with me Mark Holstein, who can kind of help me go through this. How you been enjoying? Hello, Mark. How you doing this morning?
I'm good, Scott. How are you?
Fantastic. So you've been enjoying the convention?
Yeah, this is our first Magifest, and really enjoying it. Josh and Andy do an amazing job. Everything is really well organized, and some really terrific talent. So we're having a blast.
Well, as some of the people who might be listening to this that regularly have heard me talk with you whenever we're at Abbott's, because you're now going to be coming into their 40th year as the stage manager for the Abbott's Get Together?
Stage manager, it's just under 40 years, but I've been attending since 1978. I haven't missed one.
Haven't missed one?
No.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean,
snow or ice or rain or ill health or whatever, nothing keeps you away.
Been there every year. Lived in London for 2 years and traveled back.
Just for that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and we've got another great one coming up, so I hope everybody will join us in Colon. Now,
this is going to be the last year that Mike Miller is going to be or is he doing it this year? Is he the talent chairman?
No, he's doing it, and as far as I know, he'll continue to do it.
Okay, I didn't know if he was going to hang it up.
You've got the senior tour now with Mike and I doing the stage and the talent. And we love the get-together, we love the Bordners, and we're going to continue to support them.
Well, you have some of the same people who are coming, like Steve Chesaday and I'm trying to think of all the other guys.
Yeah, I've had
great crew.
Pretty much the same crew, for 20 to 30 years, depending on who we're talking about. Mm-hmm. But they all love doing it. They're very dedicated, and I think the results show on stage. Our shows run tight and smooth. We don't have a lot to work with there, but we make it work, and very proud to lead those guys.
And this is your first Magifest. Why? Why haven't you attended in the past?
Well, that's, life gets in the way. So you have to make choices. But soon I happened to be in the Midwest visiting family, and last minute decided we'd come. Gene Anderson's been harassing me for years to come, and so here we are.
It's a great convention. Yeah, I've been coming since the days when Jeff Hostetler and the Redcoats used to handle this, Ron Spangler and all these guys.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it has a great reputation, so we're excited to finally be able to attend.
Yeah, I was sorry to hear that Josh is not here due to ill health, I guess. So he wanted to kind of stay away. He said he didn't know if it was contagious, but just didn't feel well enough to be here.
Right. But I've seen Andy around, and, of course, their team does a fantastic job. So, you're right. I would have loved to have seen him, but, you do what you can.
That's right. Well, so far, have you been enjoying the convention?
Oh, it's great. Yeah, the lineup is great. We've enjoyed the lectures and the shows, and looking forward to seeing what else is ahead.
Yeah, it's a great weekend, I think. It's one of the better conventions. It's the first major convention in the U.S. that kicks off the convention season, the year,
Yeah, and the weather's been pretty good. People warned me it was going to be really cold. It was cold. We arrived in Chicago on Friday night, and Saturday morning it was -7.
Oh, is there any snow on the ground?
There was a lot of snow on the ground. And then we were in Wisconsin, where it was slightly warmer, not much, but a lot of snow there. Yeah. So this is great.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you're enjoying the convention, and I talked quickly about the others now. Have you seen Arthur Benjamin perform and lecture before?
40 years ago. He came to Abbott's. He first competed in the contest.
Did he?
Yeah, and then the following year they booked him to perform. Yeah. And he blew me away then, and he blew me away again this morning.
He is amazing.
Yeah.
He's one of these guys who's really been below the radar, way below the radar, because he's teaching. I mean, he's got a full-time job out in California.
Although below the radar for magicians, but, his TED Talks have been hugely popular. What did they say, 50 million views or something?
Yes.
Yeah, so, he definitely has a following out there. He's incredibly entertaining and charming, And Sue and I both thought while he was lecturing that we would have loved to have him as a teacher when we were in college.
Wouldn't he have been exciting?
His teaching skill is second to none.
It's like, I got that concept.
Exactly.
It looks very difficult, but then once he teaches it and deconstructs it, it's like, I got it.
Precisely right. So, I can remember some algebra and other teachers that weren't that good, and I wish I'd had somebody like Arthur as my teacher.
Yeah. And then Blaze Sarah. Have you seen him perform before?
I have not. First time.
First time you heard of him?
I'm not a card magician, or I don't do that kind of stuff. It's amazing to watch, and for him to share his methods, probably unattainable for most of us, but still.
Everybody just said, "Wow."
Yeah, and when he talks about rehearsing that last bit for 4 hours a day for 6 months.
Yeah.
It's great that he's got time to do that.
Yeah, he said, you can do this if you want to devote this kind of time.
Exactly, and I'd admire that, but,
What a commitment.
I don't have that kind of time.
Well, he's a young man,
True enough.
I had seen him, and I was being introduced to him, I think it was at Magic Live several years ago, and they said, you need to see what this kid's going to do, and I did just a short YouTube video. In fact, I posted that over on Facebook, and I'll repost that again on the website. So if you want to see just a quick presentation of him blowing you away in less than 60 seconds, just go to the magicwordpodcast.com, and you'll see a video of him. But he has been around for a little while. I mean, he is a young man. What does he look like, about 27 or something?
That'd be my guess. Certainly he's not 30 yet. And
he looks like he could be a movie star.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
He has those looks.
Yeah, we won't talk about how annoyingly handsome he is.
And all of his hair, a lot of hair.
A lot of hair, yeah. We all were there at one point.
I remember those days, yeah. And now I've got wavy hair. One side stands up and waves goodbye to the other side.
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
Well, Mark, good talking to you. I'm glad you enjoyed the convention, and welcome to Magifest.
Thank you. I'm thrilled to be here.
So for the Magic Word Podcast, that was Mark Holstein. Scotty out. There were a lot of stuff that's happened today, and we talked with a few people, but we really haven't gotten into a lot of detail about some of the things that were talked about. So I had with me then a couple people to kind of recap what was going on, including one of the people who was actually, we're going to recap about, I don't know how you actually say that, but who was actually in one of the talks. But first of all, John Wolfe. Hey, John.
Hi, Scott. How are you today?
I'm nothing less than fantastic. And this other guy's name, and I believe it's Harrison Greenbaum.
That's
I believe
me.
It is Harrison. That's
yes.
Him right there.
Scott, have you been drinking? Yes, of course it's me.
I have. I've had a couple Saturdays.
There we go. That's the magic word I love.
Let's go take a schwitz. What do you say?
Yeah, schwitz it up, baby. And have some schnapps. Some schnapps and a schwitz.
Schnapps and a schwitz. So the first thing was, John, you said you didn't see Arthur Benjamin's lecture this morning.
Right, but I saw Blaze and his card work.
But you did see Arthur this morning doing the thing about how that you can square numbers and everything.
I didn't see any of it, but there were numbers and there was calculations. Math happened.
That's
Oh,
right.
yes.
It was amazing. And I tell you, I was talking with someone earlier, and they said, man, if I had, Mark Holstein said, if I had a teacher like that in college, I would have learned so much more, because he made it so easy and fun how to learn math. I mean, it's kind of like afterwards, I can do that. I can square root double-digit numbers now. I mean, it's okay. There's a trick to it, and there are other kinds of things, obviously, which is what all magic's about. There's a trick to all this. And speaking of tricks, so the next guy was Blaze Sarah.
Yes.
Now that guy had crazy skills.
He had amazing skills, and his mem deck, with the way he indexes it, on top of his skill, was just phenomenal.
And he's added so much to that. I like the idea of every 10th card's rounded, so he can
and
go up or down and
so
count.
Clever.
Yeah.
And I do a lot of things with indexing cards with corner rounders.
Yeah.
And because it makes life so much easier. I don't do any mem deck work. But one of the other participants yesterday, I was chatting with him, and he does a lot of mem deck. Ran into him after this lecture. I said, what did you think? He goes, it has inspired me to work even harder.
Well, the one thing that kind of blew everybody away was the one thing he was doing with the one-handed center. What was that? I don't even know what you call that. A center.
Well, it was a two-card control, one-handed.
One-handed, and then he would pull the cards out,
deck.
And you'd say whether you want top or bottom, and he could move it there. And he said, I'm the only... Oh, and also the way how he can actually, with one hand, split the deck into 4 different suits, and then into
New
individual.
deck order.
Yeah, and he's the only guy. So, well, you could do that too if you take 6 months of your time for a couple hours a day.
I think he said 4 hours a day for 6 months.
That's right. Did you see his lecture also?
I saw some of it. I was most impressed he wore a turtleneck, even though this convention has been 105 degrees.
I thought he looked like a movie star. I tell you, that kid, if he went to Hollywood, I think some casting director should find that guy. I mean, he has the look, I think.
I mean, but can he square numbers?
Who do we have next? It was after...
so I watched Julie Chen's lecture, and I thought that was fantastic.
I really skipped over my whole part.
I know.
But go ahead.
But
there was a whole thing that happened before that.
Which I missed that. But Julie Chen, I do a lot of...
He didn't miss the squaring numbers, but the bulk of the day.
But Julie Chen, I do a lot of stand-up work, and her stage
so do I.
craft.
You would have known that if you went to the lecture.
But I'll never be in a manipulation act. But just some of the details about how to look at the audience, how to structure your movement on stage, letting your body lead your eyes. That's important stuff that hardly is ever discussed in a normal magic lecture.
Right.
But is so important for a really refined performance.
I agree. I've watched her lecture as well, and it was something that's not just for stage, but as you say, because you do stand-up, there were a lot of tips that I got on there as well. There were some very, as you said, body language. I remember hearing some things reiterated that she reiterated that I've heard Vito Lupo and some others talk about, and drawing in the audience to make sure that they watch you. When you're working stand-up, then, Harrison, and you're like in comedy clubs, how do you draw in an audience to keep focus on you? Or do you just kind of beat them over the head that they can't avoid looking at you?
No, there's lots of tricks. I mean, there is a choreography for sure. I mean, the way you pace the stage. I like sort of like kind of walking back and forth and you kind of pause.
Yeah.
And it's a subtle thing, but it drives home, this is the important thing I'm saying, this is the punchline.
Yeah.
So there's for sure a physical choreography that is very important. And there's also a whole world of physical comedy. Like, there's a way to... I'm most obsessed with talking funny, but moving funny is very good too.
I don't think many comedians think about that. They just think about, I got to write a joke, I'm going to script something. They don't think about the blocking part.
No, I mean, I think the good ones. I mean, I think the really good ones know that there's a writing component and a performance component. Voice, movement, choreography. There's so much that goes into it. And so the best guys, I think, have both.
But that's not something that you think about when you're getting started. You're just trying to get up on the stage and open mic night. And
stand-up comedy can be a little less formal than magic. There aren't like comedy lectures or like when you go to a comedy club, that's where comedians perform. It's not like where a bunch of old guys go to discuss comedy once a month at an IHOP. But like comedians learn it by just doing thousands of shows, and naturally over time you realize, if I sit down dramatically here, that's a much bigger laugh. If I move there, that's a much bigger laugh. So it is something that it would be easier if somebody just sat you down and said, here's the 1 hour talk on it.
Right.
They learn it over thousands of hours because the audience gives them feedback. The best ones do.
That's true. And I had heard where like Jerry Seinfeld practices on eliminating more and more words. So you get to in other words, you have 9 words in a sentence. You get that down to 8, 7, and if 6 words are all you need, that's even better.
Compression, right? In my book, I have the 3 C's of comedy: contrast, clarity, compression. Compression is that whole thing of getting it as short as possible.
What book is that?
You Are All Terrible, available from Tannins.com. Get it while supplies last. It looks like a Tarbell. There's a surprise with a dust jacket. It's fun.
I
guarantee the most penis jokes in a magic book, probably in history.
And Holocaust jokes. Yeah.
I think there's a few.
You had 1 or 2 in there, I think.
I had to follow that. If you had been at the earlier thing, it was like a round-robin lightning round of short TED-style talks. The one right before me was on the Holocaust. It was a Mormon guy. So it was a Mormon guy talking about Jews and the Holocaust. So I obviously talked about black magicians.
I thought that was funny. That was a funny line. Since this Christian guy was talking about Jews, I'm going to be talking about black magicians.
It was a hell of an introduction. My God.
Well, in that regard, the first thing we had was Lance Rich, who talked about neon lights.
Neon Dreams, history of Las Vegas, magic in Las Vegas.
Great presentation, PowerPoint. They had some video, with Siegfried and Roy and David Copper. No, they didn't have David. I guess David was in there. That's
absolutely.
Right. And some others. It was just really good. And he was had done a lot of research and had uncovered somebody who was even predated Gloria Day as being the first. She was the first magician on the strip, but the first guy was some guy who was like at a dime store or something and did some magic or something.
Yeah, and he tracked him down. down.
Track this guy down finally.
Magician and ventriloquist.
And that's right. Yeah, he was doing
a real
double
no
duty.
threat.
That's right. And I think he was from the Ohio area, which was kind of interesting because they're tying it back to where we are here. And then after that, let's see, who was up next after that? Does it say over there that?
Well, we had Alan.
No, it was you got Lance. Randy Shine was the host.
Yeah, Randy Shine was the host.
Tim Hill was there doing electronic magic, very James Bond stuff, very cool.
He had something he presented a couple of years ago before COVID, I think, or just at the end around 21. And now they've got this thing refined, and he was selling this other, James Bondish kind of amazing
Jason Saran did 2 mentalism principles, very interesting
stuff. That's what it was. He gave an idea, which he just performed in right now. But he was talking about the importance of leading the questions and picking up body language, and if you're going to be doing psychic readings or that kind of a thing that you can. Yeah, he had a great
we had
lecture.
Holocaust for a while.
Yeah, Richard Hatch.
Yes, Dick Hatch. That's what I call the fly on my jeans.
I've heard that before.
Every pair of pants has the Dick Hatch.
Yeah.
And then I followed with a talk about some of the jokes and tricks that have almost got me fired, killed, or sued.
No, you say almost got you fired, killed, or sued. But when you left Vegas, then you came back. Was it your contract was up?
Yeah.
I mean, I've heard all kinds of rumors.
Really?
Yeah.
What was that? Oh, that sounds saucy. It wasn't as interesting as I think.
I didn't hear anything specific other than it's just kind of like that.
Nebulous.
That he was somebody. There was someone who had complained at the Cirque show that this was inappropriate, and Cirque said, "Okay, well, we're going to get rid of him." No.
Then I would have been fired day one. But no, I got to the end of my contract, and it was time. I'd done 650 performances.
Yeah.
It was a really, really great experience. I learned a ton.
First comedian to headline.
First comedian to ever headline a Cirque du Soleil show, and the first magician they enjoyed working with.
Well, wait a minute. They worked with Chris Angel. Okay, never mind.
Yeah. And I think it performed for nearly 1 million people. It's pretty crazy. And I have a couple of projects of my own that I'm really excited about. I'll be announcing very, very soon. And so I needed to spend the time and energy and focus on those.
What are you doing then back in New York then right now?
Working on this special project. Well,
No, I know, but you were doing
but I'm
something
also
else.
just performing literally 3-4 times a night. Like, I just had a 25-show week.
You're running around different comedy clubs
Comedy
like you used
club
to?
Comedy club. On tour, I was in Vancouver last week. I'm in Pennsylvania next week. I'm going to be in Blackpool in the UK in a few weeks.
There. See you there.
I'll be there.
Yeah, we'll have some fish and chips together.
There we go.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And I hear it's like this convention. It's as white but less teeth. That was a British joke, everybody, and they're laughing because they have health care, Scott.
That's right, but not dental care.
So then I give my little spiel on all that stuff. Basically, the message is take risks, break stuff, push the limits. Obviously, punch up, not down. That's the main caveat with all of that. But that's the only way to move the art form forward is to take those risks. And that's how we push the limits to push the art forward.
And tomorrow night will be 18 and over kind of a thing.
18 and over only. State of the Magic Union.
Which you have done at other places. You have a little PowerPoint presentation that you are going to be riffing on people.
It's basically...
How long have you been working on that one? This one?
Oh, man. Too long for something I can only use once.
That's what I'm thinking. It's just for us.
It's just
very
for you
topical
guys.
And it's very current.
Exactly. But it's basically what has happened more or less last year, the 2023 of Magic. A little bit before 2023 and a little bit after 2023.
I should call you for the podcast to do a yearly rap. To say, I mean, not like rap music. I mean, like that classic rap or that C rap or what I call
I would
crap.
pay good money to see Scott Wells rap, R-A-P. It would be a hate crime, but I would watch it.
Yeah.
I would watch and love it.
But that'd be a good idea at the end of the year. Say, okay, what happened here this year? So we'll start with January. Across the magic world.
That sounds like homework, Scott. That's fun. It sounds very fun.
Yeah. So tomorrow night's going to be fun. Tonight we're going to be seeing Richard Turner.
Yes, we're going to be seeing Richard Turner. He won't be seeing us. I'll tell you that.
You going to use that tomorrow?
Maybe. I just thought of it.
Now that's not. I'm glad I could see you tonight because Richard couldn't see us last night.
There you go.
It's I'm glad he came tonight. So or something.
I mean, do we even need to be here? Can we just play applause real loud on a recording and tell him he did a great job? Let's all get drunk.
Man, it's a good thing that Richard's got a good sense of humor.
He does. He
He's a great guy.
does. Yeah.
Being a Texan.
And ripped, my God.
Oh, my gosh, yeah. Well, he's a kickboxer and all that kind of stuff, and weightlifter. And, I don't know when he finds time to do that because he's practicing cards, 6 hours a day. Of course, he's fiddling with the cards at the same time. Oh, my gosh, yeah.
Between them, there's no time not practice.
Yeah, that's true. So it's going to be fun here for the rest of the evening. And is there anything that's happening tomorrow that you're looking forward to?
Sleep, eventually. That's Sunday.
That's right.
I've been working very late nights on this roast because it's one of those things where you can prepare as much as possible, but then things happen at the convention that you want to incorporate. Mm-hmm. So I'm excited to do it. It's the last thing of the convention.
It is
the very last thing. There's the gala show, half-hour break, and then a roast.
Aussie Wind, I guess.
Aussie's in the afternoon with John Graham. Here, by the way? Jay Sankey, physically not here yet. I don't know, but tomorrow he's supposed to be here.
Okay, I wondered if he and maybe Dan Harlan, who always going to be on the show tomorrow night. But
on the gala.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
I think Julianne.
That'd be good.
Maybe.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, do you know who's going to be on the show there tomorrow night, John?
I'm going to check real quick on the schedule.
And we've got
this is riveting.
Julianne, Trigg, Alexander.
Who is it? Trigg Watson's going to be here.
Yes.
Okay. Very cool. Yeah.
So it's going to be a great show.
It will be a good show. And then locking it up over there, wrapping it up, then it will be Harrison.
Yes, wrapping it. No, with an R. I want you to rap right now.
Before he does that, I think we need to wrap this whole thing.
Oh, boy. Oh, my God.
So gangsta.
That's right.
No, don't ever say that again.
For the Magic Word Podcast, there's John Wolfe, Harrison Greenbaum.
That's me, baby.
Scotty out.
Shabbat Shalom.